everyone, I'm Maria and I'm going to be showing you how to make my grandma's famous meatballs, my absolute favorite. First, I just use ground beef. I know a lot of people use ground beef, pork, veal. I don't. I just like mine. I'm a purist, I guess. And honestly, once you've done these a time or two, they're super easy to come together. Not a lot of ingredients. And they're pretty healthy. They can optionally be made keto friendly, low carb, and you're not sacrificing anything. They still taste delicious. This is still a little bit frozen in the middle, so I'm just gonna break it up. Meatballs are my favorite. I always make them, I always make a lot. I always make at least 2 pounds for me and my husband, because you can put them in the sauce and then freeze them. And then if you have to come home from work one day late and you just need a quick meal, all you do is just defrost it and then you have sauce and meatballs, toss it over some spaghetti, bam, you're done. Next, I'm gonna add some breadcrumbs. These are completely, totally plain. I made them. I don't measure, it's not bad. I cook from my heart. This was 2 heels and 1 piece of bread. And I've been trying to do a low carb thing because, I mean, who doesn't want to lose weight nowadays? But I also have high-ish blood sugar. I'm using 2 eggs. I'm not full-blown diabetic. I'm not even full-fledged pre-diabetic. It's just a little high. So I try to watch it now. So this is low carb bread that is, oh my God, it's magical. If you guys do low carb or try to do whatever, it's not gluten free, it's made with wheat. I don't know how they do it. I found it at Aldi's and it has, I think, 0 net carbs in it. It's amazing. If you really miss bread and you're trying to be good and, you know, do keto or Atkins or just, you know, you're trying to watch your blood sugar. It's amazing. It doesn't spike it. I'm not sure what it's made out of. Probably goes right through you. I don't know, but if you're missing bread in your life, you can use this bread. It tastes like bread. It doesn't taste like cardboard. It's so good. So I had basil, about, I don't know, 7 or 8 leaves of basil. Cut it straight down the middle. Cut it down the middle again. I use poultry shears. So now you have this little fringe. And just make it, you know, kind of rustic. My grandma would always use a knife to cut it. But when I was little, I loved to cook. I would sit on her countertop and she'd teach me how to cook things. And she was always afraid I was gonna cut myself. So for my birthday, she got me a pair of kitchen scissors one year. I mean, what 10-year-old doesn't want kitchen scissors? And ever since then, I've never looked back. I always cut my herbs. About that consistency. And it's pretty, little pieces of green in your meatball. And then I have parsley. I super rough cut this up too. I hold it in my hand. I'm an animal. I'm a heathen. I don't play by the rules. And just kind of rough chop it up. This is so unsafe. I mean, if you're more comfortable cutting it, whatever. Just get it in there. It doesn't matter. That's the beautiful thing about this. My grandma's meatballs. We always had Sunday sauce when I was growing up. And I don't think, well, it is Sunday, but it's just a coincidence I was in the mood for it. And my job on Saturday is she would make the meatballs and I would have to roll them out on a cookie sheet because she would always fry them. And don't get me wrong, I like a good fried meatball. But it uses up, we always use olive oil. Olive oil is expensive. And I don't like the taste of other oil, like cheap oil. And cooking and stuff, I don't mind. I'll trade off. I'll use a little bit of canola or vegetable, even though I know it's not that good for you, because it doesn't have flavor. But in this, I like olive oil. That's a lot of olive oil. And frying things, it makes a crust, which is good. I don't mind that. But you have this crust, and your sauce can't penetrate it, so whatever flavor's in your meatball, your sauce doesn't get through. And if you like it that way, good for you. That's cool. But I prefer it boiled, because then your sauce, you can cook it straight in your sauce and it'll penetrate and taste amazing. So this is my microplaner. I call it a zester. I was watching Guy Fieri and some kid called a microplane and I felt stupid because they knew the correct term and I didn't. This is just Parmesan, block of Parmesan. I don't use the super expensive stuff since it's going into the meatball. I'll use a little higher quality on top of my spaghetti, but in meatballs, I don't. I love a lot of Parmesan. I have to hold myself back. My family used to make fun of me as a kid because they couldn't see my pile of spaghetti under it. So this is about a palmful. I'd say if you're a measurer type of person, if you packed it in there, it might be about 1/4 of a cup. If you let it just kind of sit there fluffy, it's about half. You can't go wrong. It just depends on what you like. That's the beautiful thing about meatballs. They're forgiving. Okay. My grandma was a second generation Italian immigrant. My great-grandparents came over from Sicily. So my grandma was bilingual. I never met my great-grandparents, but she never taught us Italian. I don't know why. They were very proud to be American, so they all spoke English. I have been to Italy. It's pretty amazing, and she passed all her recipes down to me. So now I am peeling some garlic and just microplaning it right in. You can buy the bulk garlic that just comes pre-cut at the supermarket if you want. I think it tastes better when it's fresh, and it's so easy. It takes an extra minute. Oh. It's a really nice spring day outside, and a wasp just flew through my house. When I'm done filming, I'm gonna have to scream for my husband to kill it. I'm not a big fan of bugs. And actually this year, this is the year of the COVID. I've been bored to death. I have had my job, thank God. Still been working. I hours cut back a little bit, but I'm very fortunate. I've continued to work, had a paycheck coming in. But I decided to start gardening. I've always liked gardening. Second clove of garlic. I've always enjoyed it. But this year I'm doing it a little, I don't know, not so many flowers, everything more edible. And I'm trying really hard to grow enough tomatoes that I don't have to buy canned tomatoes anymore. Because I've read that the lining that they use on the cans of tomatoes has BPA in it. Not 100% sure what that is. I know it's a bad thing. And the acid from the tomatoes break it down, and then you eat it. That's not like something I want to eat. So I'm gonna try to grow enough tomatoes that I can freeze it. I'm not real into canning stuff. I don't know how to can things. I'm afraid I'm gonna give myself botulism. Oh God, I don't know if you can hear that. That's a big wasp. Okay. So there's my garlic. Last step. Garlic salt. Because you gotta salt everything. And since we're nearing the completion here, I'm gonna crank up my water. I know a lot of Italians use oregano. My grandma didn't like oregano, so as a result, I don't like oregano that much because I grew up eating her cooking. Thank God for my grandma. My mother was a horrible cook. My mother is a horrible cook. She will openly admit to you that she's a horrible cook. That's why I learned how to cook. I like flavor. I like things that taste good. My mother likes things that are 5 ingredients or less. The less, the better. Okay. So that's our 2 pounds of meat, about 3/4 a cup of breadcrumbs, 2 eggs, 2 big cloves of garlic, a handful of flat leaf parsley, but you can use curly, it's not that big of a deal. About 6 or 7 big leaves of basil. That is super key. I really like to use fresh basil. You don't have to, you can use the kind of little squeeze tube. I wouldn't use dry. I mean, you can, but it's just not quite the same effect. Your Parmesan cheese, salt, and pepper. And I'm lucky, I got these eggs. I live in a neighborhood a little more rural around here, and there's a lot of people that raise chickens and have eggs in my area. So I've been getting these really good farm fresh eggs. The yolks aren't even yellow, they're orange. I can just feel my skin glowing from all that good fat. Gosh, I love meatballs. This is my comfort food. Some people like, I don't know, biscuits and gravy or dumplings and mashed potatoes. I love a good mashed potato. Probably, if you are what you eat, I'd probably turn into a mashed potato too. But man, meatballs just remind me of my childhood, of my grandma, of those happy, carefree days when we didn't always live in the same city, so we would come to grandma's house for vacation in the summertime. And we would always talk on the phone, and she would always ask me, Maria, what do you want to eat? And I would always tell her, I want spaghetti and meatballs, rigatoni, not regular spaghetti, rigatoni and your meatballs. And she would always have a big plate of it waiting as soon as we got to her house. Ugh, the smell. Even now, to this day, every time I move, the first thing I make in my kitchen is a batch of sauce and some meatballs. Good. I want my house to smell like home. And to me, home smells like marinara sauce. Here's the consistency you're looking for. It's holding together, but if you make a fist, it'll squeeze out a little bit, but it'll hold. It'll hold that shape. It doesn't fall apart. That's what your breadcrumbs and your eggs are to do. It makes like the cement that holds everything together, and those eggs, when you drop them in the boiling water, bind up and hold everything so that you don't end up with meat soup. So you drop in your meatballs, and they don't even have to be completely cooked all the way because they're gonna finish cooking in your sauce. It's 4:30. My sauce has been on since 11:30, and I'm probably not gonna eat for another 2 hours, probably around 6:30. So these meatballs are gonna sit in this hot sauce for another 2 hours. So even if they're not completely cooked, you're fine. Doesn't matter. You can also make this with turkey if you're trying to stay away from red meat. I mean, it's not as good, I don't think, but it's still tasty. And like I said before, you can just make a big batch of these and freeze them, and you're good to go. That's what I usually do. I told my family today that I'm making meatballs and having a bonfire, and they laughed at me. That doesn't go together. I don't care. I don't live by the rules. You're not the police of me. I do what I want. I cook a meatball over a campfire. Ooh, you know what's really good too that I've done before? Ground beef is one of the most underrated meat. And right now, with the cost of everything, with all this COVID pandemic, everything is so expensive. And I'm sure it's gonna be this way for a while. I really love ground beef. It is so versatile. You can make, I should just do a series on just ground beef and all the things from when I was a poor married college student that felt guilty that my husband was working his butt off while I was going to school. So I always tried to make him good food, but we were broke at 40. I have like 101 ways to make ground beef that actually tastes good. Not just hamburgers. I mean, I love hamburgers, but you know what I'm saying. You can get these. Anyway, sorry, I rabbit trail a lot. You can get these and put them on a skewer, just like a regular metal skewer. And you don't even make them like balls. Like, you make like a meat log and you stick your skewer through it and you put it on the grill. Oh my God, so good. Or if you have a smoker, you can smoke it, take that off, put it on a hoagie, put some sauce on it, put some mozzarella on top. So good. I think our first set of meatballs are about done. You know they're done when they start to float. They sink to the bottom when they're like this, when they're raw. And when they start to float up on top of the water, you know they're about done through, and you just drop them in your sauce. So let me get some towels. Just floating right on top. And you're gonna have like a scummy skin on your water, that's fine. They'll take that, cooked like a little blob, right in the sauce. Dunk them in there. And all that good sauce, because you don't have a hard shell. Even when you bake them, I mean, I guess you could bake them if you really wanted to. Just throw them in a sheet pan, put them in the oven, bake them. I've done it that way too, but you still kind of get that hard crust on them, which is fine if that's what you like. I just prefer them this way. And it's less fattening. Trying to do a low fat thing. You don't have any oil, extra oil that you're cooking them in. And I always like to make sure my sauce is kind of cooked down, because when you do this, you get a little extra water in your sauce. So give yourself time to let them sit in here for at least an hour. 2 hours is better, 3 hours is ideal. Because then the extra water you're putting in here from boiling these is gonna have time to evaporate out, so you're not gonna have a runny sauce. Voila, that's how I make my meatballs. They're my absolute favorite meatballs in the whole world, my favorite comfort food ever, and I hope that you enjoyed them.